Hello, we're back, we're here. Oh, thank goodness. Actually, these are adult only, and the 45 minutes later makes me feel that we've drifted from certificate 15 maybe to certificate 18. Some of you are drunker. Maybe this is going to get a little bit darker, but quite frankly, I do need you to stay alert tonight. Don't get too inebriated. Um, Thank you for hanging in there. That's gorgeous. Um, I absolutely adore the teacher squad. You're a little bit naughty. You're quite a lot naughty. And if you are a first timer here, I'm going to let you know how this rolls. We're a family. We look after each other. We're kind. You're allowed a joke in the chat, just one joke. No flirting allowed. Ian, my husband, manages the chat. But in the last half hour, that's probably the most beautiful half hour of our marriage. And, you know, we finished it all off with saying, and doesn't that make us realise how much we love each other? As I took a tripod out of the back of his neck, you know, that sort of thing. It's a bit scary, all this tech. No, but we're fine, honest, really. Are you okay, hun? Right. Essentially, use the chat. Ian's a teacher. He gets it. I know there's a lot to talk about tonight. Some have removed themselves because they're worried they're going to get too political. But, you know, do what you want is what I'd say. Ian will filter it. Relevant questions will come my way and I'll answer as many as I can. We had to abandon. I was going a bit Norman Collier. We tried to get fancy and get ourselves on Facebook, but obviously, you know, the next time I'm going to keep having a go at that. So my little teacher transformers, my lockdown learners, what is this all about? Well, it's about many of us have mashed potato of the mind and it's getting quite tough. And so this is a safe thinking space to get some concise clarity, to kind of stretch our thinking and not only have that sense of communal thinking. By building the teacher squad, we're actually getting some kind of community building, not just in ourselves, but in this place where we can actually put our intelligence to good use and build working documents that are going to really help us sharpen our teaching approaches when we're back in the classroom. So this is highly constructive, and that's what we want it to be. But there is a sense that it's easy, it's real. I want us to be honest. And I want you to know from me, and I mean this, anything that we're talking about comes from research, evidence-based about teaching and learning. And it's our moral duty really to keep our eye on those things that work. And then of course that other filter of, but does it work in my room, and all of that kind of testing out stuff. If you want to get involved in the group further, make sure you tweet and hashtag the Right Stuff sessions and the teacher squad. And our little community is all about the thinking. And quite frankly, I love you guys. Actually, it turns out I don't just professionally love you. I actually really do love you, and thank goodness we've got each other. So this is about know-how, and it's about sharpening, and that's what we're about. And what are we going to talk about tonight? This is something we've talked about before, but you know that I really care about worked examples, and we're going to bring it back again, but I'm going to talk about it in a different way. I'm talking about that Lego building of a unit. And I plucked a book out of the air, really. You know, I love so many picture books, but it was that sense of, actually, if we had this picture book, what would that be? And how would we build it? So I'm going to say some controversial things now, actually, and it's about this building of a unit. And what I specifically want to say is that when we are using a novel as a stimulus, a film as a stimulus, or a picture book as a stimulus, and I know this is going to be a bit tricky to swallow, quite frankly, I do not want you to read the book. Now, if you are working on, let's say, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, you can read that novel up until the chapter that you are then going to intervene and coach and model and train the kids to be writers. So if you want to have the moment when Edmund goes in the wardrobe, you can read it up until chapter 7, and then the minute they are going to be the writer, we don't want to follow you know, in the shadow of, you know, C.S. Lewis, feeling that our writing isn't as good as his. We are going to write and craft from fresh, and what's going to guide their thinking is going to be our clear demonstration writing. So I do care about reading, and don't please quote me out of context. I really do care about reading, but it's almost like damn good reading teaching happens here. And of course, there's an interplay, and damn good writing teaching happens here, there. Oh, one happens over here, one happens over there, and then we can talk about the bridge in between them, but kind of separating them out so that we really have clarity that it's our crafting that is leading the way in the classroom when we want them to be writers. They're under our wing of demonstration writing. Okay, I'm going to zoom into this story. We've not tested if this works, have we, Mr. C? Storm whale, can you see that? We're going to build a unit around. Bring it up a bit. Thank you. I love you.
Green on it, so it hits the green screen.
Wicked. So essentially, before we get to Grandad's Island, I just want to, his probably less popular book that he wrote in conjunction with Linda Sarah, I want to talk about On Sudden Hill, this story about jealousy, because I want to give you that zoom out, that pan out, the big shape. I'm just going to show you here the sort of thing I mean. Sudden Hill, this gorgeous picture book, has 28 beautiful colour, high-res illustrations. But if we stay true to that story, there are too many plot points. So what I want you to do with picture books is draw out the most poignant plot points that run as a continuous story. You know, they've got to be able to flow. So you're going to pick and choose deliberately, kind of to slim it right down. So if you look here, I'm just going to point. Can they see my iPad there, Mr. C? Yeah, cool. So essentially here we're putting Bert is the central character. You know, I talk about the highs and lows for the central character here, the highs, the lows, and it's this choosing, and here I've chosen 6 plot points to be the backbone, the bare bones of the story. You can see that there, 1, 2, 3, yeah? And it's not all of the illustrations because we'd get bogged down, but I want you to also notice that there is this chart, this mapping like maths of the highs and lows from Bert's perspective. Oh, I've missed one there. And then at those high and low points, that's where we would, as a teacher, a plot point making a writing lesson, as a teacher, move in and say, I'm going to model a feeling sentence, for example, an action sentence, a informal bit of dialogue. So dropping that down, a plot point makes a writing lesson. Can you see another really core aspect of this so that we don't overload kids' working memory and we hold them in writing moments? What I want you to see here is, and this is crucial, that this map that we have on our class wall, we work with what I'm calling here the slow reveal, where they don't see all the plot points, they get revealed them as they meet them. So for example, this is plot point 1 on Monday, but they don't know what the next plot point is because I want to hold them in this writing moment. I also want you to notice here that we want to get them under our wing of demonstration writing, where we certainly don't want them to fall into the trap of closed procedure sort of style mimicry, where actually I'm saying, look, I want to set you off, kids, to write a very positive, you know, +8 feeling sentence, Bert loves their 2x2 rhythm, yeah? And I want you to build me a very positive action sentence. You know, they're sailing, running, leaping, flying, they're chatter and giggles, him and Etho. But I also want you to notice that, you know, you'd send them off in chunks. Can you build me a positive feeling sentence? Off you go. And as long as I can feel it's positive and it's drenched in feelings, and then kids go, oh, I finished, miss, they are allowed then to deepen the moment. And deepen the moment is when they can't plot push, they can write more sentences at that moment. So what that means for children in our class is children who are sticking tight to Mrs. C's model would write, for example, 3 sentences, but we've got some children who might write 9 sentences, but we're all on the same plot point. No one's allowed to plot push. They can say more about that moment, and they can show me how they can apply aspects of the writing rainbow and go deeper and go further in some of those writing techniques. Mr. C, any questions?
Yes, no, I was just about to stop you then.
Oh, great.
The main question that people are asking in this particular session, and
Yeah.
I know you have covered it,
Yeah.
you know, in the CPD sessions, is really clarifying exactly what it is about the slow reveal. So it is so the general gist, as there's been a few questions, is, oh, do we read the story beforehand as a picture book? Is it a picture book? Or so I've sort of you slowly reveal each plot point. So it might be worthwhile.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about now the slow reveal slowly. Okay. Earlier when I said separate out reading and writing, I actually mean that in an even more direct way. Do not bloody read the book of the book that you want them to write, unless we're in a novel and you're going to read, let's say, Cosmic, Frank Cottrell Boyce, up until chapter 3, and then you want to write the moment where he steals the car from the, the car sales place, and then you are going to take on the writing, and they're going to be under the wing of your scaffold and guidance. So I don't want you to read it. And so when I talk about the slow reveal, you know, if we read on Sudden Hill and then I have pulled out 8 plot points or whatever, kids are going to say, like, oh, miss, you've missed a bit. You haven't done that bit. You haven't done the cardboard box bit. You haven't done the thunderstorm bit, because we've got too much plot. We need to slim it right back. You know, 5 would be ideal. You know, we don't need this enormous amount of backbone of plot. So when we talk about the slow reveal, it really is that they can see this map. They can almost see it like a set of Lego instructions, and a plot point is a writing lesson, and we're going to hold them right there and they're only going to know about that moment, and they're going to stay in that moment in their writing. And every time we turn over a moment, we're all going to be there at the same time and finish at the same time. That is really crucial. Okay, I'm going to just keep moving now. What I'm trying to do here is also show you that a plot point, so this plot point here, how that would drop down into a writing lesson. Now, when we're in story, we've got two modes, haven't we? We're either doing experience lessons that are super funky, we're dressing up, we're doing dramas, we're going on visits out, we're having visitors in. You know, they're real and imagined enrichment moments, they're memorable, they're engaging, and quite frankly, we can't pin them as a shape because they're just tangled blobs of excitement. However, once we're in a writing lesson, and we can have as many experience lessons as we want to break it up, that's up to us, we're the teacher. When we're in a writing lesson, I want you to notice that every writing lesson has these chunks, what I'm calling learning chunks. And a learning chunk, you know, on average, you'll have about 3 learning chunks in a lesson. And what that means is we have this initiate part where we build a moment where we want kids to gather loads of vocabulary. We don't want them hitting a watched model and not have lots and lots of language in their vocabulary vault that they can lean on. So it goes a bit like this. We work hard in Initiate to get, and if you look at a super sentence stacker session, it's like we work hard there to get ideas, words, thesaurus thinking going before they see the model. Then we send them off to write, and they are applying that in its widest sense. You know, build me a positive feeling sentence. And it kind of goes through that mode 3 times. So it's kind of to me, to you sort of idea. To me, let's do something funky. Let's get all of these words, this language stuff. Let me tell you, you're going to need. Now you're under the wing of my model, and I want you now to follow this. I want you to work under the wing of this. You're right, Mr. C, yeah. Just falling over in the background there. It's all kicking off. And then I want you to go off and write. And if you're doing well with that, you can deepen. For our quick, bright writers, you can deepen. You can't plot push. You can tell me more about that moment. Okay. Okay, so basically, if you look here, we would have, let me rewind a little bit here, on the wall, you know, on your working wall, you're going to have a map that they are aware of and we've got clarity for. They know how many writing lessons they're going to have because it's how many plot points they have. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 writing lessons, broken up with as many experience days as I want as a teacher. But not only that, you know, there's another aspect of this where we can, you know, walk the walk, talk the talk, write the write. What that might live and breathe like in our teaching and learning exchanges. Yes, there's a map that we're following and kids then have clarity. But then there's this other idea that if you see here in this school, this is Bouville Primary School, you can see they've got a rollout of, I'm just going to stretch that out so you can see that a little bit better. They've got a roll of IKEA lining paper. They're working on Polar Express. They're doing a 5 plot point version of Polar Express. And let me tell you, they are not doing the old damn film there. They are doing just a little capture, a little moment of Polar Express. In fact, they've watched all of Polar Express and they are just writing in a little bit of, the ending. I was in the room, this is in a year 1 classroom, and they've turning over that final plot point for them, the 5th plot point. And I don't know if you can see here, what is gorgeous, we have that sort of interface now about what it looks like on the wall, but also children can walk down it, talk down it, and this little boy here can be enroll as the boy in Polar Express. And here, when the boy gets a present from Father Christmas, we can see here, we think this is a 3 smiley face moment when the boy gets a present from Father Christmas. And now we can have a conversation. Well, do you want to write a smiley face sound sentence? Or do you want to write a smiley face feeling sentence for the story? And everything grafting back to the central character. But we've walked it, we've talked it, it's that physicality, and that we can still consider highs and lows of the central character. So yes, this sort of idea that we can gather ideas on those sort of physical maps. And then I'm just going to talk here about this sort of thing. I'm going to tell you why I love this map, if you can see that photograph. This is a map for a story. I love that it's got maths paper. We've got this clear sort of orange sort of spine of the backbone, the plot points of the story. Why I don't like it so much is actually every story map needs to have the central character on it so that it's the story journey for the central character. This is Lucy's story in Wolves in the Wall. But also, kids, what this map lacks is we need to have this, when I talk about the slow reveal, kids need to know, well, look, this is a 6 plot point story. We know when it's going to end. And I know there are 3 more writing lessons on their way. And we can turn them over. So this would be potentially Thursday's lesson. Oh, and then we might have an experience day on Friday. Then this is Monday's lesson. And then Tuesday's lesson. So it will get revealed over time. Are there any more questions about slow reveals specifically? Do you all get that? Do you want to ask anything? Mr. C, what's going on? Anything in that department?
Well, people just said I really like in the displays, but there was a couple of questions going back a bit. They were talking about the experience
days.
Yeah, the experience lessons. So somebody said about, perhaps drama.
Okay, so have a look here. So this is online. So this is a capture from the free download. I'm just going to do that for Grandad's Island, and Grandad's Island's written for year 1. When you find a unit plan that you love, but it isn't for the right year group, I do want you to look at it with really kind of an open mind, because really they can all be adapted and made trickier or made easier, and kind of the hard work of the sequence of them is there. So, they're a really good starting point.
Could you give a couple of examples of experience days?
Yeah.
Drama is one of them. So this is a question, is it just drama? But it isn't, is it?
No.
Remember the...
yeah, so look, if you look here, here's some examples of some experience days. So Grandad's Island. The first experience day here mentioned, linked to Grandad's Island, is called Artifacts in the Attic, because One of the things that we notice in this story called Grandad's Island, when Sid goes to visit his granddad, is there are lots of artifacts in his attic that represent who he is, the life he's had. So this is where you would bring those artifacts into the classroom, versions of, and you could have a straight up discussion about them. What do you think we can say about the personality of Grandad? Kind of a very sort of discussion based lesson. Or it could have more of a drama mode, like roll on the object and you're the teacher narrator and you're telling a story about through the keyhole and what you saw and what do you think it means, and we're being detectives to find out personality traits. So they can be all sorts of things. They can be drama. They can be, should we just watch a YouTube clip of, we've got to write a non-chronological report on sharks. I don't know anything about sharks, nor do you. Let's go and watch. Let's go and fact find. So it can feel like research. It can be visits out because we want to go and live experiences. We can't write this recount about the woods unless we go to walk in the woods. It can be quite swanky trips. It can be visitors in, like Brian the owl man's coming in. It can be anything where you say, I want something looser than the tight structure of a writing lesson. But the purpose of this is to rinse from it, actually, a bank of ideas, but even more importantly than that, language that we can use in the writing.
So
yes.
Writing or no writing on experience?
Up to you. Up to you. They can, up to you. Writing or no writing, absolutely up to you. I like the idea that we don't, this is actually, if I had a Mrs. Gibb, this is where we'd have Mrs. Gibb in word collector mode for us. I don't want to give an answer to that, actually. I mean that because I think it just depends. I mean, if it's like we've got to find out about sharks, there'd be loads of bloody writing. Like I'd need a pad and a notepad and I'm watching and I'm stopping and pausing. So it's absolutely dependent.
I'll ask one more question before you move on.
Yeah.
The look. Karina Alcott just asked, would you start with a cold write so that you know what you want to teach and you initiate rather than a no?
No. Cold write, no. What's the point? Prove what kids can't do? No, I wouldn't. Okay, so here we go. Have a look here now at this as I talk more targeted at being logical in this building. If you are doing a novel, you choose the plot points. You read the novel up until you want to read it or not. And once you've chosen that moment, you draw out those plot points, and they can be keywords, they can be just drawings, or they can be both. It doesn't matter. But you then map out how many plot points there are going to be. And I would say less is more. If it is a film, if it's a short film, you could be potentially, 3-minute, 4-minute short film. You could potentially cut it down into, let's say, 8 plot points and do 8 screen grabs, and they will then serve as the backbone plot points. But you will always, whether it's novel or film, you are still working with a map and it's slowly revealed. So what you might do with a film to hold them in moments, you could go, right, watch 0 to 43 seconds. This is plot point 1. And, we're just going to hold you there. We never want them to have read what they're about to write. This doesn't mean for one moment I don't care about reading. I do. But we, as the teacher, are going to shine and illuminate the way for them on the particular techniques we want them to deploy. Okay, so we are going to choose the plot points. So kids will have a map like this. if I have this colour, Mr. C, can you see red easily?
Yeah, that's great.
Woo. So, Sid is the central character, this little lad here. We have him on a high and low central character sort of axes, teaching English more like maths. And these are the chosen plot points from the story. Okay, they're the ones I want, and I have sort of trashed others, but it's still got to flow like a story. I don't have to write the whole story. I could just write the beginning, the middle, or the end. You know, it's up to me. Now, I also, as a teacher, have to plan in when my experience sessions are going to happen. And you'll notice here what the kids will see early on their working wall is this slow reveal mode. They know what the first plot point is, but the rest are hidden, and we turn them over when we need them. And our experiences, I always say about experiences, I'll tell you what experiences are not. Experiences are not, let's read the whole story. Experiences are not, let's do a drama of the whole story. Don't go and scotch your slow reveal. Kids are desperate to show off and finish, and that is almost the enemy of the strong, dynamic whole class teacher. You know, I have strength in keeping you together. I can still differentiate for your needs. So I need to hold them with me so we're all at the same place. So I can be a damn good teacher of writing. And my experience days have to land in a timely fashion to help the plot point for the next day. So if the plot point for the next day is going on a ship, what I would do in this experience day is let's have a look at a PowerPoint of a ship in a storm. Let's gather the sounds of the sea. Let's dim the lights and listen to this soundscape. All the things, the gathering, the collecting, that are going to be so useful when I reveal tomorrow's. And so many experiences would be an opportunity to language gather. Okay. Oh, this is a nice little asterisk I've got here. Once you hold kids in writing moments, what that also means is, as a teacher, I don't have to write the whole of my version of Grandad's Island on a Sunday. What you can do on a Sunday instead is work on your marriage, have another glass of rosé, and write your model in chunks, just like the kids will. Mainly because it means then we can be more responsive. Let's say on plot point 1, oh damn it, let's say on plot point 1 I think, oh, I'm gonna put a simile in here, and then they're really awful at it. I can then be more responsive, and simile can come back when I teach plot point 2, because I thought, oh, well, that was awful. It's coming back again tomorrow. And I can have this more, and if I'm only modelling, you know, a bit like you see me do on Super Sentence Stackers, you know, 3 sentences or so a session, then we're not going to feel overloaded ourselves. And we've got more control to respond to how they're going on. It's that thing that we know about learning that's not going to overload them cognitively. It's there, and it's coming back again, and it's coming back again, and it's coming back again in different versions. So they get lots of worked examples as they work it through. So how I want you to think about a unit of work is in 2 parts. You've heard me say this before. Me building a teaching sequence where I have clarity, visual clarity for them on their models on the wall. But then there's also, once they've worked under my wing, they then work independently. Right, so just to say the same thing again but with different words. Just a bit of a recap this is. Your narrative work. You are not going to read the book. Of the point that you want kids to do the writing, you know, you take them up to that point and then you stop reading. If you're going to do a rewrite of the whole of Grandad's Island, don't read it. You go and read other gorgeous books by that author. You choose the illustrations from the picture book that you want to use, and then every plot point will make a writing lesson that has a shape like this. Learning chunk 1, learning chunk 2, learning chunk 3. Initiate means I do something funky and rinse from it words and language you're going to need. Then I'm going to model writing for you as the bridge. Then you are going to go off and have a go at it. And if you want to, and there is time, you can deepen the moment and then come back to me. If it is a film, you watch a short film, you break it into screen grabs, screen captures, and you create the plot points like that from a short film. And again, every plot point from a film makes a writing lesson like that. And if you're thinking, I need some more help with that, download the free units off the Training in Space website. Get the Right Stuff book because it's explained in there. And a novel, you want to choose one chapter or even not even a whole chapter, and you are going to draw out the plot points. And I saw Neil Black on Twitter, I don't even know if he's watching tonight, at Neil Black, who was using a website called the Noun Project, and there was all these kind of PNGs that were black and white that were really easy to understand. I really liked them, and actually, if you're thinking, I want a wardrobe, I think there were 36 wardrobe images I could choose. I want an owl. Here you go, cop a load of that. You know, icons, just so that we can have that sort of clarity of how we're showing them. I just really like that Noun Project work. And thank you to Neil Black for introducing that to me at the weekend. And that's another thing I want to say. Isn't Twitter just so gorgeous? One big, gorgeous, probably a little politically fired up staff room tonight, but isn't it gorgeous the amount you learn by being connected on there? And if you have found us on YouTube and you've not yet fallen in love with Twitter for your CPD, please do. Please do, because the amount of information you get that is so good for your continuing professional development, I cannot tell you, that really is a very active thinking space for all of us as teachers. So, before I go any further with that, Mr. C, are there any questions about that?
Yeah, a couple of questions that I'm sort of answering here.
Yeah.
Somebody said if you're not revealing the book,
I've got no drink.
will you reveal? You're not
Yeah.
revealing
No,
the
you
book.
stay there because you're near the mic. Then you can get me a drink.
Would
Water.
you reveal a film? And I've said no, you did exactly the same way. And then I said go and see the Super Senate Stackers on YouTube, but it's slightly different because you do get them to look at the whole film. But you would just reveal. Let's
say Sean Tam, The Lost Thing. You know, it won awards. It's got Tim Minchin in it. I love Tim Minchin. He wears leggings, eyeliner, Australian, lovely. He's the voiceover guy for the Australian, I think I've mentioned this before, Bottle Collector in The Lost Thing. I love that film. Again, for a short film, it's a little on the long side. I think it's coming in about 8.5, 9 minutes maybe. And what I'd do with that film is I'd probably go, right, we love this film. Let's watch the first 3 minutes because we love it. Stop at 3:07. Stop at 3:07. Then we are going to write the middle, but I'm going to pull out 5 plot points for the middle. They're going to see them as a slow reveal. As I turn over 1, I'll be right, watch 3:07 to 3:19, stop. We're going to write that moment. So the minute you would choose the film, they can watch all of it at the end. They can love it at the end. They can be film reviews. But once you want to use it for writing, we can watch the first 3 minutes. we can slow reveal the other bits that we're going to write, and then we go, oh, that takes us to 7 minutes. We can watch the last minute. Does that make sense? It does to me. Mr. C, can you top me up? Cheers. Right, so I'm just going to show you what your thinking needs to be as a teacher for plot point 1. Actually, look, I've got some bubbly on this table. La 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 la. Look. He loves being oh, that's a new sign. I've not seen that one before. That's nice. 26 happily married years glinting on the horizon. Anyway, here is plot point 1. The one I've chosen is actually the first illustration in the book, Grandad's Island. And quite frankly, I'm going to show you now. Thank you, Mr. C. Love you. Doesn't matter if this is for year 1 or year 6. I'm going to show you now how I want you to think about the planning process. So here's plot point 1. For example, if I'm thinking, right, for the ideas of writing, coming from the writing rainbow, we could choose any idea of, we could write a sentence about feelings, about the smells in Grandad's garden. Taste is probably not appropriate. How he moves, what he hears, what he's thinking on the way to Grandad's house. And this is the sort of thing I mean. So from a year 1 perspective, and we want to write an action sentence, it's it's a simple sentence. Sid strolled to Grandad's house. And the sort of thing we'd be working with kids on is on shadeometers, ambled, strolled, walked, trudged, and everything in between. You know, I want you to really think about having a precise verb. We've got some ideas, off you go, you know. And they're going to try their best writing. If they want to write more, they can write more about Sid walking in Grandad's garden. Yeah? For year 6, and we're looking at action, it's the same sort of drill. We would model with probably a little bit more complexity, but we can still focus on action. And here you can see I've got a dropped-in embedded relative clause. And what I'll be training the year 6s to do is not only have that precise verb, but that action, I want you to kind of really point the central character by using all of the kind of prepositions and moving Sid around the garden, and they could go on to write more. So Sid, who regularly called in to see Grandad, strolled through the gate, past the tree and found the key under the flower pot to let himself in. So why I'm showing you that is I want us to have that sort of braver mode as teachers. This is a moment from a novel, a very small moment. This is a picture from a picture book. This is a screen grab from a film. I can make it on track for you and your age and slice it with the challenge that's needed. What that means here, if you look, I'm actually probably better off making this a little bit smaller, as this would be captured there on this bit of paper. One plot point, so this is one plot point. Let me move to pen so it stays there. One plot point, can I write on here? Oh no, because it's slightly out the margin. Oh, damn it. One plot point, one writing lesson, but can you see how it's in chunks? Can you see how we work here? I've written here, do something funky, have a bit of drama in roles, Sid walking through the illustrations, we're gathering prepositions, we're in our vocabulary vault, we've got words and jottings. Then I model it, but now they're watching that model with all that language. Then I send them off to write, and the last thing I want it to be is kind of closed procedure, just replace this one word. Yeah. Learning chunk 2, for example, when we're getting into grammar, you know, and I know a lot of you have seen Emma Stanley's work this weekend, where she has taken screen grabs from the national curriculum. This is the grammar written out for year 1. This is the grammar written out for year 6. And we can layer all of the symbols from the grammar rainbow. And, you know, these are all the things to do with punctuation or conjunctions or suffixes. And, you know, I'm letting you know everything on that grammar tier from the writing rainbow can be tracked back to the national curriculum and then some. And of course, there's a you know, it covers the national curriculum and then some. And actually, in Super Sentence Stackers this week, we looked at, you know, oxymorons, we looked at other sentence structures from authors. I want our grammar teaching to go beyond the national curriculum. And it is worth saying, you know, that sale, that 30% off, it's on till midnight tonight. And something like these, the big symbols, you know, big, bold, beautiful, gorgeous. I mean, they 30% off of them, they're coming in at about 35 quid. So they are just wonderful for moving on your interactive whiteboard, showcasing in assemblies because they're so enormous, big displays, so that we can begin to very explicitly show kids, you know, that we're working in that mode. I've just made a little note here. I don't know if I've told you this before, that I tried to copyright a new punctuation mark called the SARC mark, an upside down exclamation mark, but it didn't make me rich, so yeah, we didn't go anywhere, to be honest. But I just thought, you know, when you write something to somebody in America and they don't really get it as sarcasm, so I just thought we need a SARC mark for this international communication. Right, the grammar of writing, what that might mean for punctuation for our little year 1s here. Look, he opened the back door, full stop. You know, really, we want capital letters, we want full stop. By the time we're in year 6, we're here experimenting with semicolons. But we're still, you know, once inside, he called Grandad. He wasn't in any of the usual places. And so this sense then, we in initiates do clause collector, lots of clauses that we can collect. Then they see my model with the semicolon. Then we send them off to join 2 relevant clauses together with a semicolon. And if they're good at that, they can go on then and deepen the moment. So it's that real words, 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 words. I'm then going to mobilise it into a sentence under the wing of my model. You go and have a go. Well done. Come back to me. Everything's in sentence chunks, in chunks of sense. And then, oh, Mr. C.
It's a good point to clarify.
Yes.
Because a few people have asked this over the last few weeks. Teaching grammar, particular points of grammar. Now, I know that your answer is about teaching in context and teaching embedding it within the lesson, but this is something that, and Hayley Mason says that she panics because you could also have a little quick word about moderation, that moderators will say, oh no, they're just copying each other, or they're copying the teacher or whatever. So
I think we've got to distinguish. Well, that's kind of 2 questions, isn't it? Yeah. That's 2 questions. So the first question is, I am a great believer that you can pick up grammar explicitly, teach it in context in a chunk. And it's short, sweet. We're going to do a worked example. They're going to try their best, and they're going to try their best. I'm going to know who's got on with it, who hasn't got on with it. The business of teaching. Yeah. I think you're much better off doing semicolons here in this little week, then it's coming back in 2 weeks, semicolons coming back again, it's coming back again in a different way, and then it's always there, kind of spiraled through our whole year. And If I really am panicking, oh my goodness, I want to make sure they've really got this before we apply it. If I want to, I can make an experience day have a grammar focus. But the very nature of calling it experience day would mean that it's kind of got physicality to it. Can you pass me one of those strips, Mr. C? Those rainbow strips, I can just, sentence strip. You know, it's got physicality, we can move about. Aaron can be the semicolon, I only want one. But it's this sort of thing, you know, we've got, you know, chunks. We've got this clause, we've got this clause. Why it's the wrong colour?
Looks like you're holding an invisible thing.
An invisible thing. Can you see that? Obviously, this isn't a clause. This is the sort of thing I say to kids. Do you love language? I talk like that to adults as well. Yeah, daft twat. That's me, not you. So yeah, clause, semicolon, clause. Let's pair them up. You know, so we could have a very physical, engaging session. Back to the moderator's idea. We've got to recognise this is why you've got to make sure you really do look at those sessions closely, all of them. There's two parts to a unit. Me, you've got a lot to bloody learn here, kids. You're under my wing. I've got a lot to teach you. That's not moderated work. That's their work. That's their books. That's different. And then there's the independent writing, which is all their own work. They're writing it in silence, and that is their own work. Do you see what I mean? Two different things. We are not handing, you know, there's the class working book, and then there's independent writing. They're different, completely different. Did I get a little bit cross and angry there? Right. Just a few more things, and then, I mean, it's getting late, isn't it? Oh, man. Right, the techniques of writing. These are all the gorgeous boomtastics, the sort of thing you might do in year one, you know, repetition for effect. Here we've got, he looked into the hall, he looked in, I put an it to in there, didn't mean to. He looked in the hall, he looked in the kitchen, he looked in the front room. He can't find Grandad. Or year six, where it's repetition now, but it's a word that's been emphasised. Sid couldn't work out why he wasn't in his favourite chair, or watering his favourite plant, or actually doing any of his favourite stuff. And actually, too many actuallys, they can choose what they emphasise, any word, any phrase. And so here, when you look down at Learning Chunk 2, we're collecting, and what I would do there is almost get a very quick little bit of rolling theatre. These are all scenes, all the kids are granddads, I'm the narrator, walking through the classroom, and they, as Grandad, do some of the favourite things. But as the voiceover for this rolling theatre drama, I am bringing in synonyms for favourite, I'm bringing in synonyms for activities, so that we can then, and you know, we are gathering as we go through drama stroke word collecting, so that we've got tons of ideas before you meet the model. I've got two more messages for you, basically, and we're nearly there. And I want you to just look here at a kid's book. And I can't emphasise this enough. It's really important that you see this here. You know the gorgeous film, you might or might not, you probably do, but Blue Umbrella. Yeah, so this gorgeous film here. And Blue Umbrella would be watched in little bite-sized chunks. The map is on the wall, and this, for example, would be the first plot point. I want you to notice here, and this is a year 2 pupil piece of work, so I'm just going to extend that out, for the Blue Umbrella. And I want you to see that how I want you to lay the work out is this side, which we might call the whiteboard side, the vocabulary vault, the word collecting, the language gathering, and it goes like this. Initiate. This is me trying to layer the shape of a lesson and what the book's like. Initiate. We're going to do something funky here as a teacher to get all of these words. You know, we're going to look at colour thesauruses to get words like wine and claret and crimson. We're going to get a bank of adverbs. We're going to get all of these words on the go through narration, kind calling out, chotting, which means you're not just doing paired talk, you are doing chatting and jotting. Everything's about pens up, pencils up. I'm going to model here on almost the spine of your book, and then you're going to have a go at writing your version of my modelled sentence. You know, here, blue umbrella gazed excitedly at the cherry red umbrella. And then it's like, come back to me now. We're going to build a question. Blue umbrella's looking at red umbrella and wants to ask her a question. He doesn't actually ask her a question. This is like a rhetorical question to himself. And then here you can see we've got all this gathering of actually not just question words, but these are actually modal verbs. Would, should, could, might, shall, may, but they can also have the can, would, who. Have a go. This kid has written down in year 2 the ones they like. And then, shall he say something to her? And then this coming back to me, we're going to build a positive red simile. What is red? Coke cans, apples, strawberries, lollipop. And then the teacher models a red simile, but drops 3 adjectives at the end. Her skin was as red as yummy strawberries, juicy, fresh, delicious. And so it's word collecting, modelling, writing. Kids' books. Word collecting, language jotters, vocabulary vault, whiteboard side. This is their writing side. And what about differentiation? For kids who need help, they are doing exactly the same as everybody else in the room. They're not doing anything different. It's not like, well, we're doing metaphor, you're doing simile. Everyone's doing the same, but we might prepare something for the vocabulary vault side, which is words, sentence frames, pictures that can help them. Oh, if this lot think of red things and only think of blood, let's give them a few pictures. So that actually that gets stuck in. Everyone's doing the same, but our lower attainers have a word bank and stuff to help them, and our higher attainers are set free to deepen the moment. Yes, Mr. C.
Message from Zanti. Would you have children coming back to the carpet for each initiate and model part?
Up to you. If you have them on the carpet, and I've said this before in earlier Write Stuff sessions, if you have them on the carpet, then please think of a way where you can, in fact, I'm just going to do this. Yeah, in fact, I can probably do it here. Think of a way where they come to the carpet, they have a bulldog clip here. This is a clipboard or something like this. And they have little flaps of paper or stickers. So this is almost like a bit of paper so that when they're on the carpet and we go, oh, what things do we like in the world that are red? Everybody look at this little PowerPoint that Mrs. C has prepared. Oh, look, what can we see? Strawberries. Oh, yes, that's a good one. So rather than just, oh, let's chat about what we saw. We saw strawberries, we saw apples, we saw lollipops. Rather than just chat, if they're on the carpet, I want them to go strawberries. Mrs. C's writing, they're writing almost with us, you know, all together now. All together now. Can have some really good music here, Mrs. C. Oh, okay, shut up. And then we can have lollipops, and we can write down our ideas here, so the carpet doesn't suddenly just kind of implode on itself, being too passive. And we can skip back to our writing, and we can take that bit of paper and we can slap it in our books.
And save me writing this, but Joanne said your lower ability groups, you could. She's asking about putting a vocabulary, sticking some supportive bits in their books. Get Mrs. Gibb.
This is it. This is it. This is what you'd slap in their books.
Yeah.
You'd slap that in their books. Or the other thing we want Mrs. Gibb to do is actually, they might be writing it along the route, and it's live. It's live Mrs. Gibb interaction. But rather than Mrs. Gibb writing on a whiteboard and it floats off, she writes it there, so I can actually touch and feel rather the nature of her support. So my final message: we're not going to talk about kids going off and planning their own work, but just have a look at this year 4 kid here. I want you, if you have just dropped in here for a laugh, thinking, oh, I can pick this up. It's not. We have been working so hard over these sessions to conjoin them. If you are just here thinking, I don't know what's going on, it's gone a bit crazy, it's a bit big, go back and watch. And in particular, make sure you look at session 8, where we talk about independent writing in detail. They're all on YouTube for now. And we are moving towards online courses down the line that we're going to charge for. Do you know what I mean? They're going to be quite expensive. I'll iron a shirt. I mean, they're going to be whiz-bangy. But can you see here, this is a child now planning their own unit, and session 8, we look at that in detail. You know what I mean? And then if you want to come into the more exclusive, behind the scenes, Jane Gang Teacher Squad life, yeah, you're going to have to pay for it, babes. But, that'd be good as well. It is late. I've stayed alert. I don't know what you're doing. These are good and big. Get them in your life. We've got teachers putting stuff like that up in their dining rooms for their own kids. We're here. When I say we're here, we really are here. We're on Twitter. Ian's on Facebook. Don't follow Ian on Twitter. He's really dark and political. Follow me instead. I'm much more safe and friendly. Thank you for being here. Do you know what? Next week we're not here. We're not here. We're not here next week. Next Sunday. We're not here next Sunday because we want to give our all to the reading sessions. The reading sessions, and in light of announcements, our reading sessions is probably the last time we are going to get together like that, like a 10-day whammy every night, 7:30 live, reading in detail. Ian soon is going to advertise the programme. Again, they're going to function like writing. Don't think you can just like turn up, dip in, dip out. You know what I mean? It's not like that. You've got to be committed. You can watch them live or at your leisure, but they are going to be really crucial. And if you just listen to writing and think, oh, she don't seem to give a toss about reading, you need to come to those sessions, because I really do care about reading. I really do care about you guys. I want you to be there too. I now need to go and put me head in a vat of cold water, I think. And thank you, Mr. C.
Not you, the technology.
The technology, thank you, up yours. And I'm going to love and leave you. And
somebody
what?
Said no EYFS. EYFS is coming.
EYF is coming, but you know what I mean? Be gentle with us. We might have to, in the end, you might have to pay for that. We don't know, we're not decided. I can't just keep giving my life away for free.
We haven't earned any money for months.
Oh, babes. Right, I will love and leave you, and I will see you Monday, the 18th of May. Be there or be nowhere. We get it, Mr. C. Stop trying to hijack, babes, my moment. And Monday the 18th. Thank you.